And here we go. So welcome to the book club. As you know, we're being recorded. So the best advice I can give you is don't share any IP that's valuable. And you don't need to, because as you know, what we do here is we put what you sell into a bubble and we move it to the corner. So today we're going to do a little recap. And I think that the most important recap we can do from last week is to let's hit the ground running and talk about the 3 words. Amanda and I started, so we'll come back to you, Amanda, but let's go with you, Laurie, and see what you've been thinking.
Okay, this was an interesting exercise, and I feel like there was one statement in the book that really had me a little bit confused, because I was like, is this what I'm bringing, or my business is bringing, or is this how I want the client to feel? So
That's a really good question, because this part of the let me before I answer you, Laurie, Sherry and Amanda, have you felt like this? Have you felt a little confused? Okay. So the 3 words represent your core values, your attitude, and your persona. Now, it doesn't mean, well, let me just take the word persona for a second. I'm not asking you to take everything you know about your personality and put it into your brand. I'm asking you to look at what is most striking about your personality, that is valuable. So when you ask the question, it's a really good question, because it's very easy to sort of get the wrong way round, but at the same time, you're not getting it the wrong way round. And let me explain. Back when my first company, Propaganda, did this exercise about who are we, one of the first things that we've done in this book club is talk about who is your perfect customer. Who do you really want to do business with? So we have to keep them in mind. There's a reason that you want to do business with them. So back in the days of Propaganda, we brainstormed, what do our customers really want? What do they really want? Some people were talking about, well, they want the best products, and I was like, no, I don't. And we just kept going around, and it's, what did they really want? They wanted to know that they were in good hands. They wanted to know that they wanted certainty. That's really what it was. They're doing rollouts of maybe 300 stores, and every time I went out with them, they were complaining that some idiot whose lamps didn't arrive didn't bother telling them, or the carpet guy didn't bother telling them, or whatever. So I love certainty. I like to know where I stand. I like to know what's going on, where are sales at, is the mortgage paid, blah, blah, blah. So certainty fit me as my company, and it fit my clients. So we're really focusing on who you are, because we're not asking you to be someone different than you are. But we've got to dig down and say, what is it really that they want? Because if we just say things like nice, it's like, well, there's tons of nice out there. What is it they're specifically getting from you, Laurie? And that's why I put my 3 words into the Facebook last night, because those 3 words are vital to how my company operates. Loving. I'll start with that, because I'm going to share my 3 words because I think they're going to be valuable for all of us in reviewing your own words. So loving, I love what I do, but I also absolutely love helping. When I look at your faces, I know you've got what it takes. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Just the fact, I think I'll try this, says enough. So I love this journey. I love the fact that when I came to the States, I didn't know what to do. I knew I was filled with ambition. And Anthony Robbins is the one that showed me the first steps. And I was on my way. And I remember having an epiphany, like, I want to help people like me. I want to help people that they want to do it. And they just need to know the steps. So that's where the word love comes. The next word, ruthless. Now, I think that ruthless only works in what I do because of the first word of loving. First of all, it's a safe space. I love you. I care for you. I want you to do well. And therefore, we have to be ruthless because there's so much shit out there that is, well, this is what the textbook says. And I'm like, no, that's what everyone does. We're not doing that. We're going to be ruthless because we're going to dare cut through the niceties and say, yeah, but guess what? This is what works, this bit here, or this is the magic, this is who we're supposed to appeal to, or whatever it is. I'm going to be ruthless with you. And then the word adventure is not a throwaway word. It is not. The first word I ever wrote down was the word adventure. Adventure isn't just like, woohoo, isn't it great? Adventure is scary. Adventure requires bravado. Adventure requires seeing a challenge and not going the easy way or not saying, well, I'll do it tomorrow. It means, no, we're doing it now. We're going to challenge ourselves. Adventure is something that is scary, but you're looking forward to it as well. Like, have you ever dove in a shark cage? Well, I did it twice. And it's so much safer than you'd think. But adventure is what keeps me alive. And adventure in business, I get so bored by companies that play it safe. Let's do something that gets people excited about doing business with us. That's what adventure's about. So I've shared my piece. Those words are vital to the whole direction of my business, to decision making, to how I approach clients, to how I approach my team, to how I approach everything. So that's what we're talking about here, Laurie. These aren't just some words that, I thought about it for an hour and I wrote these down and that's that. These are words that we live by. So that's why I'm taking some extra time. So let's go to yours again. And no, you're in the right place. There's no wrong words, but we might challenge them a little bit. Let's see what happens.
Okay, here they are. Engaged, inspired, committed.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind telling me about how you came up with engaged and what does it mean for you?
It is, let's see, in present and attentive to what the client presents, connected to their needs, and actively putting forth information to assist with insight and skill building.
Okay.
I took a lot of time with this exercise.
This is good.
Okay.
So really what you're saying is, if I came to see you, I would feel that you have my complete and utter attention.
Absolutely.
So if we were having when you're in a crowded room, or if there's a TV behind you and someone's talking with you, but their eyes keep going to the TV or to someone else, and you're like, are you paying attention? That's not you. You're right. 100% with me. Okay. So now inspired. So
it's about new breath, new energy, customized to each client. It's not just, the textbook says to do this, or the guidelines say to do this, or the theory says this. So it's the energy to grab something new, to create and ultimately transform. Customized to each client and what they bring.
Okay. Let me go on to committed before I come back to these.
This is the one I don't feel as strongly about. because again, I was playing with the idea that I want my clients to be committed to mental and emotional wellness and to be committed to that process in their lives. So I had words like empowered, evolved, transformed, and committed is where I landed. And
Well,
but I
in therapy, the last time someone said, David, you need to be committed, they were trying to put me into a straitjacket.
exactly, exactly.
So I think that you're right. You feel a little stone in your shoe, and so
Uh-huh.
then let's just tip the stone out. It's not an exciting word. So let me, for you, this is where I'm going to ask you. We're not going to try and work the word out right now, but what I'm going to give you as a mirror feedback is what I get from you. What I get from you is, yes, you're fully with me. I'm going to ask you to, what kind of, actually, Amanda and Sherry and whoever else is on the call, Robert, Lynn, just share, please, what kind of magazine do you think Laurie should be looking at to find a word or a phrase that represents that I'm completely with you. I'm looking between the lines. I'm looking between those cells. I'm looking for what's really making you tick. There's something in that that's exciting, that's to me more than engaged. There's something more powerful. When I think about therapy, I know I want somebody who's going to challenge me in a good way. I want them to be like, wait a second, you've said this 4 times now. Why do you keep saying, whatever it is, I don't know. I'm just saying, I want somebody to, I've had too many therapists who are like, you're great. And like, shut up. I have a problem. I want them to dig down and get in there and help me. So being fully with me is great. So anyway, I'm talking. Did anybody suggest from Sherry, the mirror? I like it. I like that, Sherry. And the mirror work is important. And I've changed my viewpoint. They used to say when you practice speaking, you should speak to a mirror, and you don't do that when you're on stage. So I just want to be careful with the mirror. I find it valuable for finding yourself. But when we're looking for a word or a phrase, I do want you looking at what other people have produced so that we don't feel that we're sort of squeezing our brain like, what is it? I want it to be easy. I want it to come to you. I want it to be fun. I want it to be a pleasant surprise when it's kind of like that right shoe just fits on your foot. And you're like, oh, that's the one I've been looking for. That goes with both the outfits I had in mind. No, it's really important. So let's take a little time.
So the word that I've used is one of my words. It's confidant.
Yes, that's
Now,
really,
I don't know if
that's
that's powerful enough, but that's the sentiment that I'm trying to get across with my clients. It sounds to me that's the sentiment that Laurie's trying to do as well. Confidant is something more than just a friend. This is somebody
absolutely
that I can confide in and I can lean on.
So, Robert, thank you for jumping in with that. When you choose a word, what you'll notice I did earlier when Laurie and I started this conversation, I took my 3 words and I explained them. And once you explain them, because like I said at a previous meeting, if we could write our own thesaurus, we can make now connections that book can't make. We're like realizing, oh wow, yes, this does equal that, and it doesn't in the book. So when you're talking about being a confidant, it's vital based upon what you shared that your skill set is. But it's up to you to bring that to life. But it's a great word for you to use. And now, A quick tangent, folks. The 3 words, sometimes, depending on what type of business you are, we absolutely share those words. Other times we use those words as an internal guide to steer us on how we create a sales presentation or a video or whatever it is we're doing to inspire the people we want to inspire. So confidant is a great word for you, especially when you explain this a little bit, because that's what we need. You're looking for that one different thinker. You're looking for that one person who's going to admit, you know what, I accept that the way to do this is, let's just talk a bit. Let's have a chat and see what we think. You know, you're making it much more personal. And I think that's very important. So it's great. Who else would like to jump in? We started talking about you, Laurie, but we're talking for all of us here. So please jump in with questions or thoughts or whatever you want to share, feedback for the people, because these 3 words are so important because they steer everything in your brand.
Laurie, you appreciate that we don't have to make them public, like that it's embedded in us and our marketing.
Correct.
So I like the word evocative. I put that in the chat. But it scares me to use.
I think it's good to be scared.
Right.
I think that's the point. You got to push the edge.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So next step though in this, when you choose a word or a phrase, the test drive is how are you going to use it? Because if it's how do I use that? If it's a challenge, if it's really tough, it might not be the best word. But I know how to use that. Here's how, and you start bullet pointing what you'll do. So let's take the word provocative for a second. Tell me about how you could use that effectively.
Is that me? Evocative is the word.
Oh, evocative. I thought you said provocative.
Yes. And so to me, that's sort of engaging with people in a way that is challenging, but also helps them believe and use their own insight.
So you're saying, let's imagine someone told you a story from when they were a child or whenever, and then they're talking about something today. You could evoke something from their past or evoke something from their thoughts or from their frustrations or whatever to say, well, what about that? That was important to you then. What changed? Is that what you're talking about?
Right. And that and so many other ways, yes.
And so
really help people make connections using their own insights, right?
And what about if you were speaking publicly or doing a video or doing something social media wise? How could you use the word evocative?
I come from a really creative background, so I do workshops also. And I do some just really interesting things, getting people to get into some of the different senses rather than just being in their head all the time. So helping them make connections through like our sense of touch, of something doesn't tell us everything we need to know about it. So it comes out, I think it shows up in that way too.
I think that, let me just step you out of these words a second. Here's the question. You've set up a workshop. What am I going to leave with that I didn't arrive with?
Pens, because I ordered 1,000 right before COVID. And okay, let's see. I think the last workshop I did a few weeks ago, people left feeling inspired. That was what they put in the feedback, inspired to sort of face down some of their limiting behavior and thoughts and behavior.
Now that's more specific. So you're talking about they felt inspired to face confront their limiting behaviors and limiting thoughts. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how you could use evocative regarding facing limitations. So here's the thing I'm going to give you as feedback. You've got 3 good words, and looking at you, listening to you, sensing your whole demeanor, you deserve better. So these are great. This is like a springboard on a pool. You've built a fabulous springboard. You're heading in the right direction. Now I'm asking you to get a bit more daring, a bit more, challenge yourself more, and get some more magazines. So I might be missing some comments. Let's have a quick look. If anyone's said. No, there's nothing else to add. Oh, Sherry added presence, mirror, delve. I like these are all great words to keep us moving in a direction. So what I'm asking for everybody to suggest for Laurie is what type of magazine, or I shouldn't even say magazine, where do you think Laurie should look to be inspired by words other than a thesaurus? And you can be silly here. Just have fun.
Well, you mentioned that you come from a creative background, so why not look at some of your creative resources and see what kinds of words, I don't know if they'd be magazines or websites, but something that pulls that creative, because I think you'll find, words there rather than if you go to Psychology Today, you might find a word, but that tends to be psychobabble, and your clients may not resonate with what we end up using as psychobabble.
I think that's really good, Lynn. I like that. The thing I want you to also think about when we talk about facing limitations, not everybody knows that they have limitations that are affecting so many of their decisions. They just notice once they've got past it. That's what I know. That's what I'm aware of myself being. So to try to sell confronting limiting beliefs is a tough sale because, well, I don't have that. So we've got to look at what getting past those limiting beliefs gives us and sell that. And maybe reference it with what we're going through prior to coming to that realization without ever talking about the limiting belief that is causing it. Because it's amazing what can steer us, and all of a sudden you're like, oh God, what was I thinking? Who knew if you just put a spoonful of that in, it would taste fabulous all these years? It's amazing what we tell ourselves. So, and it's amazing what it prevents us from experiencing by having that. So it's about looking at both the world before and the world after rather than the actual tipping point. So let's move on. Unless anybody would like to share your 3 words right now and have a chit chat about them. Cool. So what we covered at the end of last week were also things like your brand promise, the business that you're really in, and the playground. Now, these elements of your brand are designed to help you get a stronger sense of, are my words right? Am I headed in a direction that feels right to me? While balancing it with, and these are the people I most want to attract. So let's talk about a promise. Has anybody had a chance to think about a promise for your brand? Does anyone have any questions about a promise? So I'm going to share then that when it comes to World Famous Company, my promise is that the journey is really important. And that's what I've described with my 3 words. It's the promise is that you're not going to be sold something and then bye, thanks, go away. We don't operate like that. We create relationships. So the promise is you're never left alone. You're never on your own. There's always a place to meet up with other people going through building a brand. There's always a Zoom call coming up where you can specifically talk to me or one of our experts. So you're always involved in the journey, and that's the promise that we make. So it's nothing to do with, is this the best water in the world sort of thing. It's about our promise, our commitment is about your experience, so that you're not left out in the cold thinking, well, is this good or not? It's like, ultimately, these are some bad analogies maybe, but when you go to the store to buy a pair of jeans and the clerk, who you're pretty sure just wants the damn money, says, yeah, your ass looks great in those jeans. You're like, I don't know if I really believe you. But if a good friend who knows you well says, don't get those. No. Don't spend $20 or more, get these. Yes, you've got a great ass now. That's who you're going to listen to, right? So it's really important where we get our information from and what we feel like as we're coming toward very vital, important decisions about the future of our life. So this is why your promise doesn't have to be like BMW says, the ultimate driving machine. I don't know if I agree. BMW, the ultimate driving machine? I think there's possibly more ultimate, but it's something that they can stand by. It's ultimate for a lot of people because they do have some pretty crazy models that can take you there. So it doesn't have to be a promise like your pizza will be delivered in 30 minutes or less. That's very specific and measurable. Your promise doesn't have to be measurable per se. It has to be something you commit to and you won't break. End of story. So anyone want to give feedback or questions on that?
Okay, so I'm trying to decide if this actually is making a promise. So if I said that my brand promise was transforming your inner assholes like anxiety into allies so you can enjoy your success with less stress, would that be a brand promise? Is there a promise in there, or is that more of something else?
Well, it's all about how you word it. So what you're not going to do is guarantee that I'm going to do something that you can't control. So what you're going to promise is, it's pretty much, do you think that you have an inner asshole sort of thing? I mean, I'm just making up the words. Yeah, well, I'm going to show you how to confront that and get past it and turn it into an ally. You thought it was bad? No, it's fantastic when you use it right. That's what you're going to promise me. So you're going to show me how to empower myself rather than promise that you're going to heal me, kind of thing. It's a very important distinction. But yes, you can absolutely make a promise. And I love the fact that you're daring. I love how you've taken the challenge, Lynn, and that you're daring use real words that people relate to. And when you say it straight-faced and not trying to be, aren't I clever for saying it? You're not. You're being, hey, this is the way it is. And it's like, yeah, I can relate to that, rather than, do you have a feature that you don't care for so much? It's like bullshit. You're just going straight for it. Let's just do it. That's what's so powerful, Lynn. You went and you were speaking like this day one. See, it's impressive that this is what we have to do. We have to dare ourselves to speak the truth. Because when we speak the truth, boy, oh boy, do people listen.
Mm-hmm.
So good for you, Lynn. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Great. Anybody else? Yes, Robert.
All right, so this is the promise I actually have on my website. Chase Group provides the confidant to CEOs to implement successfully that one strategic initiative where analytics demonstrate clear outcomes and with the promise that patient health status will be improved.
Have you printed that out?
Yeah.
Do you have a pen?
Yeah.
Can you strike it out, please?
It's on my website, so it's going to be hard to change, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay. The reason I'm being
It's got
cheeky,
a lot of pieces in it.
I'm being cheeky with you because you're asking us to do something that's kind of a crime before we've done business with you. You're asking us to think. It's a lot. It's a big ask. We shouldn't have to think. So I do want you to print out the statement.
Okay.
And here's the challenge. Imagine I've given you a budget of $1 million. Actually,
right.
No, I'm going to give you 5. I'm feeling really
Good,
generous
thank
today.
you.
But you can only spend it on one thing. And that thing you can spend it on is words. And unfortunately, the supermarket you've entered that only sells words, every word is $100,000.
Okay.
So you've got to choose your words real careful. I want you thinking not about the process. People, I once was talking to this group. They went and worked with corporations to improve teamwork.
Yeah.
Oh, and they started telling me about how they all got everyone twisting balloons. And I was so turned off. I'm like, I'm not twisting balloons. It's ridiculous. I missed the whole point. They're telling me about their process. Who cares? Do you want your team that currently have a little bit of animosity toward each other saying, hey, do you want to come to my house for a barbecue? Let's all go. That's what teamwork is. How? No one cares. But is that the world you want? Because that's what we've got for you if you're prepared to blah, 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 whatever that is. So tell us about the possibility without trying to sell us a BS fakery. Don't make it a magical, dream world that you're selling. Make it. I think it's more what you're selling is exclusivity. You're looking for that one person.
That's right.
And let's say it was 100. It's one person. Until we're talking more people than whose name you can remember, it's one person. So speak to that person without trying to include everything in the kitchen sink that they're going to get. They don't need to know. We don't.
Right.
In fact, you're unselling because you're making it sound like work. Oh, that's the last. More work? Shit, I'm already busy. So we just need solutions. We need to feel understood. That's what you offer. You listen. Just looking at you through the camera, listening to the feedback you've given other people, you're exactly what you're talking about. You're a confidant. You're thoughtful.
Right.
You're smart. You're trustworthy. I mean, you're nodding. You're even agreeing that you are. You just know you are. You are. So let's just own that and speak. Just speak what your promise is, What do you tell me right now? Tell me what you promised me. I'm your perfect.
Always be there for that CEO to manage a change. Or
so there's something about, I'm just making this up.
mm-hmm.
There's something about not needing to have all the answers. There's something about
right
being able to talk to someone on your level confidently, in confidence. It's about laying all the shit on the table and without being embarrassed, without anyone knowing.
Right.
You know, I've got stories when we get going of corporate situations where they're like, what? They did what? You know, like when Levi told me to shut up, that we were holding a chunk of change of theirs, and they're like, don't ever tell anyone. We're like, what? Do you don't want it back? No, I'll lose my job. And it's like, okay, we'll just keep it then. If crazy things happen, and they might need someone to talk to about that, right?
Yeah.
So it's
and most CEOs of large organizations have no one to talk to.
Right.
So I mean, they're really looking. I love never on your own. I love that comment because a lot of the CEOs they want to sit down and talk to somebody that knows what's going on.
Right.
And they want to divulge their things, and we talk through it, and we eventually get a solution. And let's try this. We need some videos. We need this. We need that. And let's, we can help you get there. But it's always them. It's not me.
You know what? I think I shared early on, I have liver disease, which is under control. I went to see my liver doctor, and I'm somebody who's a little bit forthright. Like, of course you remember me. I mean, what are you talking? I've got an English accent. And so after that 4 visits, and he's like looking at his nose, well, people normally, typically, and I'm like, stop! I'm not typical. I'm not, stop it. Do you not remember me? Anyway, now he knows who I am, and he wants to talk to me about his brand. and he is not telling me the truth. I know he's not telling me the truth because I've been to his office and I know what happens and I know where the holes are. I know what's wrong. I know what needs to be fixed. And he's busy telling me it's his staff, and I'm like, yeah, Well, we'll talk later. But he needs someone that he can trust to finally yeah, I know, I'm just not very good at blah, 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 blah. Once I make it safe for him, right? So I already know what he's going to tell me once I make it private, soundproofed. No one's going to find out, but these are the changes that we're going to make. So it's very important. It's how, an analogy I used a lot, and now we've got this war going on with Russia, but back decades ago, I've got photographs. If you wanted to get bread, you had to go to the bread line. That's it. You line up, you just wait. You might chit chat with people, but it's cold and you wait, you get to the window, you get your bread and you go. That's it. You're there for bread. Well, here in the Western world, we're going to get our bread. We're going to get it. We're not going to line up all day. You could run to the convenience store, you could run to a bakery, you could go to a French patisserie. There's so many ways to get your bread. So what we're actually choosing, we're going to get the bread. It's the experience. What experience do you want? Do you want Wonder Bread? Cheap? Or do you want an artisan produced beautiful gourmet loaf of bread that you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I just gained 10 pounds, but it's about the experience, and that's what we're selling. That's what a brand is. That's what you are. It's not, oh, you got a problem here, do this. No, if just being told what to do was the answer, we'd all be totally healthy, in love, rich, come on. It doesn't work like that. It's about the experience. So you're offering everybody here is offering a very specific experience. That's what we're branding. That's why we put our product and service into a bubble. And I'm just going to go off on a little tangent here, everybody, because in the book, I'm going to do a screen share. In the book, if you have read the whole thing, where are we? Here we go. Toward the end of the book, we talk about the fried egg. And that's evolved since the book was written. And I think it's very important for us to focus on this for a second. And I'm showing you, and I'm going to share with you. Let me do a full screen share. I'm sharing with you the distinction between branding and brand DNA, brand identity. And we've been spending these last 3 weeks talking about your brand DNA. So I created this thing. It's called a brand action wheel. It looks like an old ship's wheel or a cart wheel that couldn't go on land because of the spikes sticking out the end. But it's like a ship's wheel. And what I want you to know, the red circle represents everything inside that red circle is your business. Everything outside the circle is the world, the potential market, people who know you, people who know people that might want to know you, whoever. People, it's the world. So each of these spokes represent what they often call in a textbook as a brand touch point. I call them brand spokes because this is a brand action wheel. I'm telling you right now, 98% of businesses go about this ass backward, wrong way, completely nuts. And this is why most businesses bore us. And you'll start spotting them from now on. They'll basically, without knowing the distinction, they'll sit down and say, oh, well, we need a business card, we need a website, we need this, we need that, we need the other. And they'll just look at them as expenses and get them done. So if you think about all the different ways that, let's talk about branding before we even talk about brand DNA. Branding is the label on this bottle. It says Aquafina. Branding is the logo on my iPhone. So branding is all around us. Billboards, every label in the supermarket, the bag you carry the food, the groceries home in. Sometimes we even see jets in the sky leaving vapor trails, spelling out a brand. So branding is everywhere. Marketing, advertising, PR, you name it. We're inundated with branding everywhere we go. Open a cupboard and you're overwhelmed with branding. So what is it? What's the distinction? The distinction is, and I want you to list on these spokes where your business touches the world. Because everywhere that we touch the world has to be fueled by your brand DNA, which is what goes in the hub. So we've been working diligently on who we are as a brand. What's your DNA? And the outside of that wheel, if you imagine a wheel is actually turning, it's touching people. It's connecting with people, with messaging, with images. So a brand, if you ever meet someone who says, I spent all this money on a brand and they've got a big pile of paper in a desk drawer, it's not doing anything. Your brand has to be in action. It goes into all your brand spokes. For me, the word events is important because I do a lot of speaking. So I don't just stand up and speak. We actually refer to it as edutainment. And it's a show, it's an engagement, it's a vital part of my brand. To engage you in the journey, the adventure that's possible when you make some key decisions. So that's what we've been working on, is your brand DNA, the very heart of your brand, so that every decision you make, whether it's, this one was built actually for a now I'm noticing what I wrote on the spokes. This was done for a cannabis event that I was speaking at, and my birthday's 4/20, so it fits real well. But
now I get bud tenders. I was going.
It's the first time it's the first because I took their logo off, but I didn't notice. So bud tenders was part of their event. But anyway, it could be social media, it could be packaging. Messaging is vital when we speak, whether it's as a cocktail party, as a dinner party. If someone asks, what do you do? I'm going to say, anyone who could say, well, I'll help you confront your inner asshole. That's a dinner party conversation right there. You know, it's, and I'll tell you this, when I used to be out and about and someone says, what do you do? And I would say, let's just go and impress them. I'm a brand strategist. And they'd be like, oh, okay. Well, it doesn't get me anywhere. I thought it would at the beginning. When I say, well, my title is Loving Uncle Ruthless Truth Teller, they're like, tell me some truth. You know, that. So it's about, are we engaging people? Are we saying, because there has to be some urgency to what we're talking about as well. And urgency doesn't have to be now, do it now. It just has to be like, does this sound like something I could do next week, or something that sounds like something I want right this second? Can I do that in how I term it? So, and yes, we can. Yes, we can. So now I'm going to segue for a second. I shared with you at the beginning, Lorne, our new CEO, shared it last time. I have an opportunity, which I'm just going to share. I don't ever engage in hard sell. This is something I want to share with you. We are introducing a new sponsorship. What it is almost like a continuation of what the book club is. It's a program. You get video direction as well as group meetings, and depending on the level, you also get one-on-one with me specific to your brand. The promise is you've experienced what you get already, because this is how I am. This is my operation. This is my promise of behaving this way and bringing you along and being very specific about your brand. Now, we're actually about to launch a GoFundMe campaign because we want to get the word out, and we want to work with entrepreneurs. I've done a lot of work with big brands, and I've done a good amount of work with entrepreneurs, and my true love is entrepreneurs. That's what I am. So our GoFundMe program, because it's an early bird special, starts. The full price would be $4,000 for the program, but we're doing it right now because it's an early bird special for $1,000. There are different packages that get bigger. And if you want to know more, really all today is about is let me know if you want to know more, and we'll have a one-on-one chit chat, and I'll share it with you so that you know exactly what you get. But what I want you to know is this is a one-time only pricing, because it's a early bird special. We're not finished with the program yet. We've got a lot we're doing. It's exciting. There's a lot of opportunities for those who join in because of the things that we're doing on top of helping you with your brand. There's other stuff, which I'll get to. And that's it. Unless there's any questions, I'm going to go straight back into book club. Are there any questions?
Yes, I've got one question. I'm intrigued. My son is starting a new business. It's been in place 4 years, but he's struggling with brand. Is this something that I could introduce him to, and he could enroll? I mean, he
yes,
has to want to do it, I suspect, but I don't.
This is how I look at it. When I came to the States 30 years ago, I was committed, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was in startup mode, but I didn't even know. I mean, I thought antique parties in people's homes was the pinnacle. I didn't know what my future held for me. I had no idea. I just was so happy to be on an adventure. So yeah, it's startups. young entrepreneurs, people who want to rebrand. It's really about, it's not about the age or the part of the process. It's about people who are driven to do something different, who are driven to say, you know what, I think I can do this. Because I'm here to say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you say you can do it. This is America. I was the last in the class. I had the chalk duster thrown at me so many times. And then I read years later, the people dreaming, looking out the window, they're the ones like me. Like, if only I'd known then. So, you know, that's what this is all about. I'd love to meet. What's his name?
Chase.
Okay, yes. Please introduce me.
Okay. And how do we go about doing that?
I'll tell you what, my phone number, and I'll give you my email address. My phone number is 808-779-0457. And the email is david@worldfamouscompany.com. And I'll post that on the Facebook.
Good.
And we'll be following up as well.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So, in the last section of the book, there's quite a lot of information, because we're kind of, this book club was broken into 3 pieces. The first part is really about getting ourselves into the mindset of being daring, of understanding what a brand really is, of understanding who our customer is and what the journey possibly is going to look like. The second section was the heavy lifting, which you've gotten involved with. You've gotten thinking about who you are, what you bring, irrespective of your product or your service. And it's so vital. I can't even begin to tell you. You've walked into people's parties and been like, whoa, this is way more fun than I thought it was going to be. And you've walked into other parties and be like, how do we get out of here? It's awful quick, you know. This is all about what a brand is. There was still food, there was still drink, possibly music. But what was going on that made you not want to be there? Or what was going on that made you want to stay? And I'll tell you, a lot of times, before I even arrive, it's the prep. It's the invitation. It's the reminders. It's the enthusiasm. It's the excitement. All of those things are part of it. In timeshare, my partner Theo is in timeshare, and he's one of their top salespeople, because he really believes in the product. It's a fantastic product. And he has a colleague who is up there about the same level of sales, but she has this many returns to his minuscule number of returns. The difference is so abundantly clear. The second she's got your money, she's like, next! Whereas he's like, no. He walks you to the car. He takes photographs. He tells you how excited he is for you. He confirms everything he used to help you make that decision in the first place. So that when they go on vacation, when they go home, they're like, oh God, I really loved Theo. He was great. I can't wait to go on that cruise. I can't wait. Rather than like, wait, was that a ripoff? She just dumped us as soon as we paid. That wasn't nice. So it's really about the whole experience from the beginning, and it doesn't really end. It's a relationship, no matter what it is we're selling. Some of those relationships are short, some of them are longer, but it's still a relationship, it's still the experience. So we've talked about added value. Did anyone get to finish all of the exercises or do the added value exercise? There's a lot to ask in this book. And what's important is some of the exercises are there there's parts of the journey that for some people are like, got it. And for other people like that, oh, this is where I got really stuck. So we've added extra exercises for when you get stuck. Some of the exercises you just need to do one and that's it, you got it. You can just keep going. So the added value section is really for once you've got clear about your brand DNA. So we can save that. Your brand story. Now this is something that really should be inside of that hub of brand DNA. Your brand story is important. People need stories because we remember stories. It's really important. We remember stories. What happened the other day when that car, he came flying around the corner. He was clearly drunk. He mounted the curb. There's a story. What happened next? And he hit the telegraph pole. The thing came down. There was electric lightning all over the place. People remember stories. The court reporter might say vehicle turned left at high speed, hit pole. It's not as exciting. We need the story. The story, I've read stories before. It does not need to include every single thing that ever happened to you. It has to be really about, let me use Richard Branson as the example. He'd purchased Necker Island. This is before the iPhone, this is before the internet, it's before Virgin Atlantic, and he was on the landline trying to get a flight back to the UK. He couldn't even get through for like 3 days. He couldn't even get a person to pick up to buy his ticket. So he got really frustrated because he had to be back and he couldn't get off of Necker Island and he couldn't get back to the UK. So he decided, I can do better than this. I can do better. And then he started to really think about all the things he hated about travel at the time. And he knew he could bring that Virgin brand and do it better and do it different. The story is very powerful because it's about what happened for him. What was that tipping point where he decided, I'm doing this? So there was the frustration before, or the pain, or the loss, or there has to be some kind of moment where you realized, I need to do this. And that's what the story is about. It's them understanding. There's a story of Spanx, the girl that introduced that corset, whatever it is. The sales weren't great. So she went into Macy's and she started putting her product on the shelves at Macy's. And people started buying them. I copied her. I took my book to Borders in Dallas and people bought it and it wasn't in their system. I'm like, well, you better stock it then. And I had a box with me and they bought the box. It works. Hers made her a billionaire. That's a powerful story. That's powerful. She knew she had a great product, so she went into Macy's and she put it on the shelves because she wanted you to have that product so bad. You always have to make it about, not because I wanted to make $1 billion. I wanted you to try this product. I wanted you to enjoy the benefits that I've put into this. That's why I did it. That's the rationale. It's always for someone else. Has anyone worked on your story? Anyone got any thoughts about your story? I'm going to ask you to be daring right now. I've done enough talking. Who wants to share a little bit about your story? Even if it's not fully completed, I just want to hear, what made you do what you do? I'm going to get off of this screen. There we go. So I'm going to choose at random. I'm going to ask you, Robert. Actually, I'm going to ask you a completely random question.
Okay.
Tell me about Chase. What does he do? Tell us about Chase.
He and I started a company 4 years ago, and his company basically links academic expertise, so professors, with companies that are looking to innovate in that specific area. So he has, contracts with universities where he represents their intellectual property and their faculty members, and he markets that out to companies in the United States.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And
it's really interesting.
What made you get into this business?
I started probably 6 years ago looking at innovations in universities that had not been commercialized.
Why?
And so I started down that path looking at patents in particular to see if any of those would be interesting. And that kind of led us to thinking about, well, wait a minute, how do you do that? At the same time, my son was in Illinois Ventures, which is a company that, or it's a company within the University of Illinois that is there to innovate faculty members and try to get them funding.
Okay. Why do you know why your son Chase went into this business?
Yeah, he was in the sales organization, sales undergraduate at Western Michigan. And while he was in business, he started his own company, which was called Higher Starts. And what he was trying to do was to help young people coming out of college to get their first job. And so he was doing video recordings and rewriting resumes and so forth and promoting that out. And so the experience of starting his own company then led him to get an MBA, which then led him to work with an entrepreneur teacher out at Illinois. And that led him to Illinois Ventures, and he went on from there to do some other things, and now his own business.
So I'm going to put you on hold a second, Robert. So I'm going to go through the list of everyone on the call right now. And I'm just going to ask you, all I'm asking you to do is share one sentence. I'll start with Amanda. So Amanda, what was it that made you start your business? What was it that made you choose the path that you're on? That's the question.
That's a good question. So I'm a little different because I joined Amanda Keating's practice. So she's been encouraging me to join this group and to read your book, David, to get a better understanding of that aspect of the business. So with that caveat, I think that I really resonate with our practice, and what keeps me coming back every day is just changing people's lives. It's the ability to be able to do that.
And would you, if someone really put you on the spot,
Yeah.
which I'm doing,
It's okay. It's okay.
how do you change people's lives?
I think we help them face their fears. So when I think about a lot of the clients that I work with, and that we work with in the practice that we take on, are people that are dealing with a lot of anxiety around, whether it be social anxiety, which is a big one because we work with a lot of individuals on the autism spectrum. So.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a different question, Amanda.
Okay.
From your experience, when you said, this is what gets me up every day to go into the practice, rather than focusing on what people's issues are that you help with, what is it about the practice that you just like? What are you delivering?
I just think of the relationships. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Give me an
Not
example.
just with the clients, but with Amanda and with Kayla and Kim, just the relationships of the people that I work with, and just a feeling of contribution to something that we're all kind of working toward.
Great. I like the word contribution in there.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Amanda. So, Laurie, would you like to share?
Okay, yes, I was having trouble. So for me, it's really about human connection. Like what brings me to work every day, or it's the human connection and kind of validating for and with people the human experience. There's a lot of humanity in there, but that's where I land. It's about providing a space for people to feel normal when they may otherwise be being told that they're crazy.
So that's what you do. What made you decide to be a therapist?
I think I go back to the validating the human experience. I had a therapist validating that for me and really walking that path.
That's the story right there.
Okay.
When you can speak to what that person did for you, and that experience was so significant in your life that it caused you to dedicate your life to doing that for other people, that's power. When you knew what one person could do to change the whole future of your existence on this planet, I want you to really look at it like that meeting that day changed your life. It gave you a gift that you are still returning to the universe every single time you go in. It's very freaking important. That is very important. So you just shared it right there. That's why I say sometimes the answers that we're looking for, they're literally right under our nose. Because those decisions we make, they are everything. They're everything. Those opportunities that come along. That person that when you just said the right thing at the right time, and you're like, I didn't even know I did it. We're always aware of like, oh, I should have said this, but no, not really. So you had a very profound experience that changed the course of your destiny. That's what you're doing from other people. Thank you, Laurie. So next we have, who hasn't spoken? Lynn, have you spoken? No, I don't think you have.
So ask me the question again.
Please, what made you decide to be a therapist? What made you decide to focus on
as far back as I can remember, people like, oh, you're such a good listener. But I tried really hard not to. I didn't actually become a therapist, licensed till later, and I actually realized now I'm actually a better coach than a therapist because I'm not very good at just listening. I also kick people's asses and make them cry. But yeah, even back to, I've told this story before. A friend of mine was reading my high school yearbook, and what my boyfriend my senior year wrote. She looked at me and she said, "Are you his girlfriend or his therapist?"
What did he write? What did he write?
He wrote like 2 pages in the back of just how wonderful I was, how I was building his confidence and helped him out and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm a confidence builder. Yeah, but yeah, I tried hard.
What was it? So you're telling a very fascinating story.
Mm-hmm.
I love. There's a little bit of kind of cynicism in there, in a positive way. You sort of said, well, people always said you're such a good listener, but I'm actually more of a coach. because I like to do a lot of talking and I'm going to make you cry. That was like, wow. That was a lot of information and powerful information. Truth. The thing that is most important is your truth. So yes, you can listen, but you've got something to say. Very freaking important in therapy, if you ask me. So you're nearly there. What was it that made you decide to be a therapist?
Because no matter what I tried to do, people just kept talking to me, and I'm very perceptive and I'm very responsive, which is part of why I chose that word. I call myself a perceptual healer. People say to me all the time, oh, I never thought of it that way. So I'm helping people think of it that way. Be good at what you do, or do what you do well, I guess. And so I stopped trying to not do it, and I'm doing my best to help people change the way they look at things.
So this is what I want to share with you, Lynn, with everybody. There are different realms, and when it comes to working with me, or talking with me about our lives, about the split second in the big picture of the billions and billions of in the infiniteness of time, right? The split second that we're here. I've completely forgotten my point. I had something very profound to tell you, Lynn. Now I've completely forgotten. It'll come to me. Yes. So, there are things that we're competent at. I'm competent at cleaning the toilet. I'm competent. Do I want to do it? No, but I can do it. Yeah. There are things I'm incompetent at. If my car breaks down, I can lift the hood, but that's about it. I'd look at it, scratch my head and say, do you have the phone number for AAA? So I'm incompetent when it comes to fixing a car. Then there are things that I'm excellent at cooking certain dishes. But what I'm really looking for is, what is your realm of genius? Not what your realm of excellence. And a lot of people get stuck doing what they're excellent at, but they're not genius at it. They're just excellent. Or they get stuck, you see them every day, doing what they're competent at. That's about, and then there's the people you've met who are like, you're not even competent to do your job, what are you thinking? So there's a whole scale, right? But all I'm interested in is your realm of excellence. And the realm of excellence is it's so interesting because it's what comes so easily. It's like you were put here to do it. It's the easiest thing.
That's why I wrote a book, because I'm tired of repeating myself.
Right.
Because it comes so easy, it comes so naturally to me, and I haven't figured out how to open people's heads up and pour it in. So I wrote a book. So read the book, and then if back to what like Robert was saying, I've often joked, it's Oprah's got Gail, and Maverick had Goose, and then Rooster, because he's ends up in the second one. You got me, like I'm there. I love supporting people to go do their thing that's in their zone of genius that they haven't figured out yet. But they got to get past those inner assholes. They've got to figure out how to make them team members first.
But I shouldn't say but. And the thing that I want you to be careful in your building of your business to get pulled into process. I was sharing about that earlier. I want you to reference specific elements, like, you know, inner asshole is good because it's definitely like, oh, you know, it definitely makes you think. But what we're not here to do is give a trailer of what happened in this movie. I mean, I guess in a certain sense you are, but it's like without going into all the elements that are required. We need the before and the after is really what I'm talking about. And because you're selling the experience.
Yeah, so it's probably laying here somewhere on a sticky note, but I was playing with all of these words before we started back with this, and you know, I definitely work with the responsible ones, and another way of saying the responsible ones is to say control freaks. So I hear what you're saying, which is, you know, so then how do I succinctly speak to the control freaks about what it is that I can, is that what I'm hearing?
I think that you could ask a question, but I actually, let's not combine too many things at once here. We're speaking to you about your story, not about your sales pitch. Your story is about, it's really more about fun, but genius. People, what I've got in front of me, I really like, from the point of view that people say that you're such a good listener, but you're a better coach because you also guide us and have things to say. You could always throw in that sometimes people have been told that they're control freaks. You could touch on it, but if you try and push, are you a control freak?
Yeah.
You know, not that I think you would. I'm just saying.
Well, that's why I say the responsible ones. I don't typically say control freak unless it's, you know, buried into, you know, or infused into where I feel like I have to tease that out. Because most of the time, if I'm talking to someone who's potentially an ideal client, I say, are you a responsible one? And they're like, like there's no hesitation. Like they hear that, they resonate with that.
What we need,
but I hear what you're saying is how do I hone in on this idea of what's my zone of genius?
It's kind of like this. I want to go back to that baton idea. You're holding the baton, and you're in the relay race. And what you can't do is get to the person that's going to take the baton and go next. Say, okay, let me just explain.
Right.
The thing, see here it says, you know, it's got to just go. So your brand story has to have the ingredients that don't need to be thought about. That's why it's got to be simple things like she's the good listener, and she is a good listener, but she's got things to say. She's going to guide you. She's going to literally have you confront your inner asshole in order to get to the other side of how to. You thought you had things that weren't great. It's just going to show you how to make them into great parts of you.
Yeah, it's like I'm a relationship coach for all the assholes in your head.
Right. It's about being able to describe what you do without being therapeutic about it.
Yeah, because I keep trying to move. Like, it started out where I used to say that I did directive cognitive behavioral therapy. I just made that up. It's not like a thing. I mean, it's what I do, but it's, you know, but I want to move away from that. I don't. Therapy is not my thing.
I've seen cognitive. I mean, you've got to speak in your own language, but without sounding novice.
Right.
It's about saying, yeah. That's what the standard is. Here's what you need. It's that's genius thinking. That's genius behavior. It's like, that's what everyone. You know, when I talk to potential clients who are going to do an event, I'll tell them, listen, here's the information that any other company would tell you, and here's the bit that only I'm going to tell you, And this is the bit you need to hear right now. So if you want to get this advice, go anywhere. If you want to get this plus the bit, you need to know so that your event does not have you buried in the desert afterwards because you couldn't pay anybody. You need to hear this. And that's important to be able to say, I'm not going to give you all the jargon. Do you want to live? Do you want to succeed? Do you, it's really just own what you've got and have a reason not to have whatever you don't. Because you've got everything you need. Okay. I think you've got great instincts, Lynn. I think that really honestly, from speaking with you, I relate because you think a lot. So then you second guess. It's not even second guessing, but you put too much information into the situation. So we need to simplify. We need to we've got to just get to the heart and soul of what is it you're really doing. And because what I'm thinking is that sometimes decision making for you gets pushed off to the future because, there's so much, I know what it is, but I just don't know what it is, but I kind of do. It'll come clear to me in a week, and it doesn't. So we need to deal with it kind of now. And the way to do that is I want you not thinking. That's why I really do want everybody pulling out the mayonnaise jar, pulling out some of the favorite foods in your cupboard. What do they say? If you like wine, what do they say on the back of the bottle about the experience? Something that they write. What do they write in food magazines? What do they write? I want vacation would be a good one for you. Look, I want you, don't be squeezing your brain. I just want you to find, we're not trying to tell them everything there is to know about working with Lynn. We need to give them an essence. But specifically, there has to be a story. This is why I do it, because I care about this. Because that's, it really is. If you speak to Steve Jobs, who I had a lot of, I was very impressed with him until I learned he wasn't the best person in the world. But, he still had some genius, amazing genius in his spirit, That's what we have to be clear about. What was it that made you start? We've got it. Now it just needs editing. And then your sales information has to be simple. So it's for you. It's editing. Your friend is editing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I often joke that one of the great things about working with anxious people is they think a lot. The drawback to working with anxious people is they think a lot. So I live it every day. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. So the way the book concludes, I've thoroughly enjoyed rereading my book, I have to say, because it's not because of it being wow, this is my book. It's reminded me of stories in my life that were very significant. Like the book finishes pretty much on a story of when we moved to Hawaii and just happened across this restaurant that intimidated us. But we ended up making friends with the owner and staying in her house and then rebranding a business to the point where it went from being a albatross, noose around her neck, to being a money-making pleasure, joy in her life. So it's about taking what we've learned and putting it into practice. Because if we've learned it and we don't use it, it was pointless. So I want to finish today's session. I'll be posting all my information. I would love to chit chat with you afterwards, even if you just have questions. I would love to continue working with each and every one of you because you've got great brand information to help elevate you in your industry. But what I want to finish with today is an idea of, given what you've learned so far about you and your brand, what's the first action that you've got in mind that you want to take to put your brand into more practice, into reality? That's what I want to find out from each of you, please. I'm going to start this one with Robert.
Sure. I'm action oriented, right? So I'm trying to absorb everything and move forward. First step is I'm redoing the website, and I'll make whatever changes I can do based on what we've learned. And the second piece is I'm planning an email campaign to senior executives. Again, pushing the concept that we're not looking for 100, we're looking for one. We're looking for an unusual leader who wants to make a change and wants somebody to help them.
Okay, so here's my advice, Robert. Mm-hmm. Because you're looking for one, pretty much,
yeah.
Rather than when you say email campaign, it's you have the specific need to research each person that you would write to, so that you know who they are, you know what, it's not just an email campaign, it's like, I decided to reach out to you because I want it to be a very personal, not an email campaign, it's specific. Now, even farther, Robert, I'm going to say that once I was working with a company, and they were a marketing company, and they were like, we're trying to get this yoga company, what should we do? What should we do? And we talked about it. I'm like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go buy a yoga mat. You're going to get a pair of scissors, some big quality scissors. You're going to paint this message on the yoga mat, and then you're going to cut it into a jigsaw and send it bit by bit over 3 days so that it doesn't make sense till they get the last piece. And I guarantee you they will call you. And they called, and they got the job because they made it specific to that customer, saying, it says something about, do you know how many of these fit into your space? Because we do. And we know that not only are you not getting enough in, you're not filling the ones you've got. Let's talk. Something like that, but more fun. It was more fun. And so this is what you can afford to do. I don't even think, I mean, for sure you can use an email, but I want you to think about a bit more that you could do. The personal touch.
Right.
What does Robert do?
Instead of email, maybe it's a personal letter.
Yeah. Handwritten envelope.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the concept.
This is something back in the beginning of my business, back when computers were really just, Tandy, Radio Shack, that's where we got our first computer from. Right. And we got our computer, and it was not cheap compared to today's prices, but we couldn't afford the envelope attachment for the printer. And that was the only way you did it. There weren't even stickers. And I used to have to handwrite all my envelopes, think, God, they're all going to know I'm running a silly little business from my house. We've got to save up for that envelope attachment. And finally we got it. And you know what? Our response rate went down the toilet. Yeah. Now that we're officially joined the club of professionals, fuck that shit. You only need one. So make it personal. Give them a specific reason for them to choose you in that email. In that letter.
Yep, got it.
Okay. Next person. Thank you very much, Robert. Amanda.
Yeah, so I think the next steps for us is kind of go back to the team and chat about the progress that we've all kind of made through this this journey, and I knew there's been a lot of talk amongst me and Amanda and the rest of our team about really updating our website and our social media. So I think it's going to be about strategically planning together how we're going to.
Well, Amanda, I want you to know that in certain ways you've been thrown into the hot seat doing this. And I know that can be uncomfortable, but you've done brilliant. You've done really well. You've answered every question. You've tried your hardest. And you've also been clear. You don't always have to know the answer. You don't have to. And that's totally fine. So you've done a great job. I think you're going to take this information. You're going to be an asset to Amanda and the team, and just continue being you. It's been a pleasure having you involved. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, let's see. Lynn, you've been, right? Who am I missing? Amanda, Robert. Has everyone had a go? Anybody not got?
For this last question about.
Oh, Laurie, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, you said something earlier about, confronting the limiting beliefs is a tough sell, and I wrote this down, but sort of selling what getting past that means for my clients. So doing a little work, I was writing down like freedom to make decisions, freedom to be bold, freedom from self-doubt, those kinds of things. So doing some work around what am I? And
I would lose the word freedom.
Right.
I want you to speak as Laurie.
Okay.
When was the last time you realized, oh my God, I just made that decision. It was a piece of cake. And you exactly. Okay. So I want you to bring it to life.
Got it. Thank you.
And on that note of bringing it to life, that's what my wish is for everybody. So I so appreciate you being part of the book club. I'm going to post all my information on the Facebook page. I hope to be speaking with each of you very soon. And all I can say is thank you. It's been a blast. Cheers.
Thank you, David.
Bye.
Take care in Florida, Amanda.
I'll do my best.